Just a couple things we want to go over. Miss Cinda, as you know, a couple meetings ago, we kind of gave you ideas about some of the retirements and resignations that we were accepting. And we met as an administrative team last week, and we kind of have staffing ready and outlined for the 2023-24 school year that we just want to review with you, get the committee's input, give you some time to process, and then at the next meeting in February, we'd like these positions to be approved for posting, interviewing, advertising, et cetera, et cetera. So we can kind of get ahead of the rush when it comes to hiring. So if you're okay with it, Ms. Cinda, I'll start with the high school, work our way down to junior high and then elementary, if that's okay with you.
Yep.
So at the high school, the three that we talked about are pretty straightforward: music, social studies, and ELA. All these vacancies are open as a result of retirements. We recognize those individuals at a board meeting previously, a lot of expertise in years going away, but we are in a position when we looked at staffing, looked at class requirements and course requests, that we need to replace these. We stated that position last time we met. They're pretty straightforward, but again, we would like to replace Dr. Laird's position at the high school, Mr. Mosgrove, and then Mr. Nath's position at the high school. So those are three that I think you're well aware of. I think the rest of the committee is well aware of, that we would just, again, like to bring to your work in memory, and then have permission in February 27th to post, advertise / interview so we can get going. So any questions with high school, Ms. Cinda, before we move on to the next one?
Nope.
Okay. Under junior high, we, as you know, have 2 retirements from the science department that we'd like to replace. Again, we did the same thing. We looked at the same algorithms, did the same calculus to make sure if we need these positions or don't. We do need them according to our schedule, according to our staffing needs. So we are asking to post, advertise, interview for 2 science positions. But where things we are asking the committee to think about is 2 new positions. One, a reading ELA position, and another one being a math position. Rob, Justin, and Dr. Minnick are there, and they can go in a little bit more greater detail. But really what it comes down to in a simple version is we are trying to close the gaps that occurred as a result of COVID. In order to do that and build our MTSS platform, we need some more hands on deck. So we need some people not only provide some coaching, some supporting, and looking at the data-driven instruction, we also need people to provide more intensive instruction as well as intervention that our current staffing allotments really just don't allow. As you know, we accepted a grant with Patan that was valued around $70,000 for some of their expertise and support coming in. And as we try to build our MTSS model, as the board asked us to, similar to what we're doing at the elementary school, these 2 needs came up. So they are not budgeted for. It is something we are asking the board to consider. And I'll turn it over to Rob, Justin, and Mike to see if there's anything they want to clarify. Rob, let's start with you. Did I misspeak at all, Rob, that you need to fix or you want to add to?
No, you hit the nail on the head. We're rolling the MTSS framework up. We started K-3, K-5. We have a pretty good, system built to support children who don't get it necessarily the first time. They have an intervention that can go and get them back on level before they fall too far through the cracks. We're now trying to build that same or a similar framework. It's not going to be exactly the same at the junior high and eventually the senior high. The junior, in order to build that schedule, we don't know if we have enough. So what we're asking for right now is to post an interview while we continue working on the schedule for that. And if we want to hire, we come back to you at a later date and ask to hire those positions. And it's just a reading and math person to really be those intervention teachers to give us flexibility in the schedule to, make sure that, we can offer with what I need time to those students when we at different times during the day, so that we have enough personnel to fill all the different holes, basically. If that makes sense. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to listen to everybody before I say anything.
Please.
Mr. Zorchek or Dr. Minnick, anything you want to add to it?
No, there's nothing I need to add.
What I would add, Ms. Cinda, is that there are kids coming into the school who are coming off a schedule where they're getting anywhere from 50, 60, 80 minutes of math and reading at the elementary. And they've been at a deficit for a while, and we're trying to get them caught up. And when they come into the school, we have 40-minute periods. We already have WIN built into the schedule, but the WINs are multi-age, they're multi-group, just out of necessity. And we have 5 math teachers across the whole building for roughly 700 kids. So math would have to be a priority. If I could get a math teacher, that teacher would have both math lab sections as well as core periods. These teachers would not be used to reduce class size, but rather to build in that second tier support for kids that need more than just 40 minutes of math and reading. We would add reading to the 8th grade as another option. We could also add courses that would enrich in the area of English and literature in 8th grade. Right now, we don't have those options because we just flat out don't have the personnel. So at both ends of the spectrum in the junior high, we have kids coming in that are below grade level that we want to add courses. We just need the people to do it. We don't have enough bodies to do it. At the 8th grade level, kids, when they take a world language, that's the equivalent of a section or a core subject area in 8th grade. Opposite of that would be reading. So kids don't have other options. We have some really talented ELA teachers at the junior high that we could be creative with and add some really high level courses such as drama, such as creative literature, creative writing, things like that. So we're thinking that not only can we add the tiers of support in ELA, we might be able to add a section that we don't currently have. The bulk of the need is for remediation and tiered support like the MTSS model, but not exactly like the elementary model.
Okay, so this would not just be for remediation and to help the kids catch up. You're also looking at providing higher level courses for students that are already caught up.
Well, I think the answer is yes. We don't have enough people to offer the tiered support that we need for the kids that need the remediation in more time. We just don't have that. And yet we have these talented teachers. We also don't have options for if a kid doesn't want to choose a world language in 8th grade, they've been directed into a literature class. We advise a lot of 7th graders going into 8th grade that are not reading at their grade level to forego world language another year, and we direct them into a reading class. But we have a lot of kids that are reading on grade level that don't have an interest in world language yet. So we would try to get creative and add a course if we could. The priority has to be lifting up the kids that are below grade level, though, and that would be the greatest need. I'm just giving you the full transparent spectrum of
Well, then I
how
appreciate that.
how would we use an ELA position? We would absolutely use it to add additional time for reading. And if we could, and I'm just saying, in a perfect world, if we could create this too, we'd be handling the needs at both ends of the spectrum, kids that are below grade level and kids that are thriving but don't want to choose a world language. I feel like I've misdirected the conversation a little bit though, because this is really about kids that are below grade level, and that's where the
Right,
ELA.
that's where I want it to be.
Yeah,
As soon as it went to, providing higher level courses,
yeah. I didn't mean to
that's-
do. I didn't mean to
we've
do
got
that.
kids that are in desperate need of extra help, and that I can take.
And
Yeah.
the positions, I think in my mind, the way I see it is, I think it allows us to be more responsive to the data that we have. So I think, when we're identifying students from those benchmark assessments, those students that are, having either a medium or high risk of, failing courses, or not even so much failing courses, but lacking the skills that they need, those positions give us the ability to respond to that data more effectively. So, if students get that intervention or the treatment and we're collecting progress and we're doing progress monitoring, we're showing data, those people are going to help support the data system, and they're going to provide the intervention to help get kids back up to where they belong. And once they are, then we're saying those kids go back out into regular ed, and we're, picking different students to provide intervention for.
Okay, did I hear somebody's hand go up?
Terry's.
Terry?
Yeah, thanks, Cinda. I guess two questions. The first one is similar to what Cinda was asking about. And I'm wondering, are these positions, how do I want to say it? I don't want to say temporary, but is the term, I guess, somewhat temporary, and then through attrition, and once the support is provided, and the majority or the kids are back to the level that we want them to be, will we reduce the staffing back to the current level now? So that's my first question. And then the second question is, I think Cinda would help the committee understand this better to at some point see the class size numbers that these positions are related to.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I will say to the first question, sir, I mean, I hope so. I hope that we do such a good job with the literacy program at the elementary schools and the interventions at the junior high that those positions are not needed down the road. But I don't want to make any promises. I don't make any guarantees. Ideally, yeah, that's exactly what would happen is as we fix this and we have our system that is producing people who can read and write on level at a very high rate, 85, 90% of our kids are, on level and the others are receiving support through special education. We'd be in a really good spot. But for me to project when that might happen, it would be a little bit more difficult. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is absolutely, and again, we're just asking for permission to post and advertise an interview to see if we can find some quality candidates while we work on the schedule. The Bataan grant came in January. So that's what's kind of creating a sense of urgency. And we're doing a lot of the work very quickly. And Dr. Minnick and Mr. Bowers have been working very hard trying to keep all these balls in the air and run a school at the same time because the support is very intensive. However, we're building it alongside and we're trying to anticipate what pieces we'll need in place after we build the schedule out. It could be we come back in a couple months and say, you know what, we don't need both, or we only need one, or we need, half or 1.5 or something like that. But if we don't get out in front of the hiring, we don't want to be hiring for these positions or interviewing for these positions in August. We want to get, the cream of the crop in April, so we want to get this posted and out there sooner rather than later. We come back to you later and we can tell you a little bit more clearly what exactly it is we need to hire.
So to Terry's second question, when do you think you're going to have the enrollments available that you can look at and the data about the kids in need?
The data we have, and the data is
Okay.
not great, which is why we're asking you. So there's a lot of students in need, but the enrollments we'd have to build the schedule before we could give you a good idea of the enrollment. So I'd say at least a few weeks. But yeah, we can definitely get that for you. No
Okay.
problem.
And then one other question I had too, it says that they're new position and yes, it is new position, but are these positions that we let go because of attrition and some of the cutbacks that have taken? I mean, I don't remember which
We have
which
reduced
departments lost
English.
position.
English at the junior high has been down, I want to say 2 or 3 positions since.
Yeah, we've
Because I know that things have been going down.
yes, when I first moved to the junior high, we just had bigger departments across the building. There were more teachers in each of the core subject areas.
And
So-
what about enrollment? Enrollment was the
enrollment-
same size or less or more?
Enrollment has been fairly steady.
Steady? Okay.
Yeah, we've been right around 650 to 700 for 10 years.
Okay.
I know back in the day, I'm told that it was up around 900. I never saw 900 though. But yes, we've lost a number of positions in each of the core subject areas. But if I had to put an order on this, math is a desperate need right now. We really need math. English is right there with it. And as Mr. Heinrich said, we'd be happy to come back and talk a little bit more about the class sizes. I can tell you, generally speaking, our class sizes are right in the mid-20s across the board. Each of my core subject teachers have at least 6 instructional periods a day. You add a lunch, a prep, and then our flex period at the end of the day. That's your full day. So we don't have teachers with half a day of teaching. They're all going full speed. And one of the things that my math department particularly has been asking for years and years is they said, we just wish we could get a math lab back on, but we don't have the personnel to do it. The math lab would not be part of this plan.
That was
The
going to be
only
my
reason,
next
the only
question.
reason, the only reason I say that is because I think they feel the desperation of trying to make an impact on the needs of our students coming in. And I think this MTSS model can make that impact, but we do need a little bit of help with a couple of positions in those two subject areas.
So a math lab is not
A
part
math-
of this plan, it's part of your wish maybe, because
on-
right now you need individual teachers to work one-on-one with these
Yes.
kids.
Yes, there's a pretty large group of kids that need more time, I think, in math every day, more dedicated math instruction, and that's not a math lab. The dedicated math instruction, if, let's say hypothetically that we identified, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, I think it could be part of our MTSS model, but let's say if we identified 50 kids that needed a double block of math, then we can provide them that if we have another section, or if we have a different course that we feel like could be specifically used to address deficit areas that aren't part of their on grade level instruction, but we need to develop areas that would be more of a remediation. There are a number of different ways we can go, and as Mr. Heinrich said, we're working with Patan about how to create courses that would be designed specifically for our needs, as well as connecting with somebody that specializes in scheduling and how do we provide a schedule. Our schedule has always been based on providing every student every one of the opportunities that we have in junior high level. So they're exposed to everything that they have. They get their 5 core subjects, plus they get all the on-course we offer to give them exposure so that they can decide what path they want to choose when they reach the high school. That's just harder and harder to sustain when we have attrition happening. Over the course of 10 years, we've lost a good number of teachers.
Ms. Cinda, I will tell you right now, just on a quick glance, and we'd have to dig deeper than this. This is a generalization. But right now, 58% of the 6th graders are projected as needing an intervention. It's even more in the 7th grade. You're looking at about 66% of 7th graders are projected to not be on level and not pass the PSSAs. And in 8th grade, it's about 55% in math. So in math, to Dr. Minnick's point, is dire. They've not been scoring well. They've not been demonstrating proficiency on these skills, and we need to do something about it if we're going to right the ship.
How long have we had this going in the elementary?
This is the 4th year. We're almost about to complete the 4th year.
So our 6th graders would have had
Some.
some.
But not necessarily math though. So we
Correct.
started with spring math just this past year. So we think that'll have an impact, but that's the first year of that. The reading initiative's this is year 4.
Yeah, and the reading and ELA numbers are not as bad as math, but they're still not great. I can look up here while we talk, but they are, to your point, yes, they have had some of the intervention. They've had some of the structured literacy, but they would have been in 3rd grade so they would have missed the foundational skills that are necessary, which when they get to what the science tells us is as they approach multi-syllabic words, higher level vocabulary, they start to struggle, which is exactly what we see, so that's not a surprise that we see that. But to Mr. Kerr's point earlier, hopefully down the road, could we phase out the ELA? 100% we hope. Math, I'm not sure. Math's a bigger mountain to climb right now. And I can't tell you that we're going to see a tremendous improvement right away. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, when did you say we started the math?
Just this past year.
That's just
Yeah,
tier
'cause
one.
That's when we got rid of all the different,
No, we
So we-
changed curriculum 3 years ago, but
okay,
the
Intervention.
interventions we only started this year.
Okay.
4 or 5 levels actually get win time in math and reading. At the elementary K-3, we still only give intervention in reading currently. We do whole group tier 1 intervention with Spring Math, which is basically working on math fluency, just like you work on reading fluency.
Mhm.
It's just skills practice till like the facts just come, So that's happening now for 1 year. So we expect to see improvements, but it's going to be slow at first. Reading is much more in a much better situation right now. In 6th grade, you're looking at about 32% of the kids that would need some sort of intervention, which is much more manageable than 16. So.
Terry, do you have any more questions?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Is Tammy online?
No.
No? Okay. Anybody else from the board online?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I think then, yes, we can consider it. At least that's what I think. I don't want to absolutely pull the trigger and say yes until you get more information about your scheduling and so forth, because I understand the higher level stuff, but we need the remediation. And if we're going to hire a teacher and the teacher's going to have 2 or 3 classes of higher level stuff, no, we need
Understood.
to concentrate on. And
Like I
then,
said,
and then we need to do it at the high school too. I'm
We'll
still
get
nagging about tutoring at the high school.
We'll get there.
So,
And to Mr. McInerney and Mr. Johnson's credit, they've been trying to make this up in the margins a lot. Doug's done a lot with putting interventions in with the making use of some of the study halls. Under Wade's direction, Doug has really worked hard with some of the teachers to make sure that those students that are struggling and didn't pass the Keystones the first time are getting some sort of help. So that's not a perfect MTSS program. I think if the MTSS experts were here, they would probably laugh that I was even calling what we were doing anywhere close to MTSS, but it's at least a first step in the right direction. We'll get there
yeah,
soon.
and I understand that it's starting out and it's good, it's done, it's ready, and it's on track in the elementary.
K-5.
So, yeah, but, okay.
For sure.
I would say, Mr. Reiner, we've had measurable success with their intervention, not for Keystone exams, but we want to make sure kids, when they graduate, have had as much learning in math and reading as possible before they leave. I would also say that working with the intervention plans we have provides our students their own math teacher, their own math lab, or their own English language arts lab. So that has been very helpful. But we have seen some results. But what I would say is we talk about our dreams and our wishes. And our wish is that the students, that Mike and Donnie be able to, with their program, give us grade level students. Because once we have grade level students, we can take them from there. A student who is 1 year behind, we can work with that. 2 years or more, it's managing.
Yeah.
And, and I have watched over the years, we talked about attrition, primarily from the senior high, but also from the junior high, to give the elementary the resources, because we need to build those kids when they come through. But it has taken its toll, but we look at that as an investment too, because we know eventually when those kids do get to senior high school, more than will be grade ready, and we'll be able to take them from that point on.
Okay,
Thank you.
so Mr. Vukovich, we can go ahead.
Yep, under elementary, the one thing we're going to do similar like we just did with the reading and math at the junior high. We are currently monitoring our class size projections at the elementary school, and we are thinking that we may be in need of an extra position at East Pike Elementary School. At this point, we're asking the same thing: permission to post, advertise, interview, not make the commitment yet because we're still monitoring it, but it's something that we want to get permission for and see where it goes as far as enrollment. We're close to it. Jared and I were talking. It's something, again, we'd like to seek permission for and just err on the side of caution and move forward with that. We also have an art vacancy that we would like to fill based on our encore schedule and the need and the programming. There's a need to fill that retirement. And then lastly, we have seen some numbers at our Horace Mann Elementary School grow. And with the next year's 4th graders coming in, there is a need for additional special ed teacher at Horace Mann that we are asking for the board to consider. With that position, we're able then to repurpose others to do some support in the area of ESL and or other areas. but we do need some additional special ed support. So before we have any questions, Justin, you want to clarify anything I misspoke about with the special ed position?
Yeah, with this special education position at Horace Mann, Melanie Popson, who is our learning support teacher at Horace Mann, her day is not 100% devoted to special education, as she teaches. I think it's 2 phys ed classes there. So she's at probably about 70% of her time that's devoted towards special education. We have just over from the previous year to this year, we've had an increase in 11 students with intellectual disabilities and 6 additional students with autism. So as our numbers at the primary levels went up, we also have a larger group that's going from 3rd grade to 4th grade. And my worry is that Melanie, with not 100% of her day devoted to special education, and we do have quite a few students that are going from 3rd to 4th grade that are receiving learning support classes for the majority of the day. So my concern is that Melanie would not be able to do that all if we did not add someone.
Do you need a full-time position, or would somebody?
Yeah, I would say that it would be a full-time position. And, could we have, if we had someone to do ESL, I think, could we manage to squeeze out like a period or 2 for ESL? I think we could. But with the students moving from 3rd to 4th grade, there are a lot of students that receive special education services for the majority of the day. And so that pretty much creates the need for someone to be there 80% of the time in special education.
What is the projected special education need in 3rd or 1st to 3rd? You're losing a big bunch from 3rd grade.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that I know more
right
people
now
are being identified?
Yeah,
so.
looking at our early intervention numbers, our earlier intervention numbers seem to get higher and higher every year. And just as an example, this past year, I think it was 5 additional students, which isn't that much from the previous year, but that's not also counting students that are identified throughout, kindergarten, 1st grade. So when you look at the next school year, the numbers always look kind of low when you start out, just because, they're, just starting school and there's a lot of students that haven't yet been identified. We have 2 learning support teachers at Ben Franklin, 2 at East Pike, and that has historically been what we need to manage the student learning support population. And then at Eisenhower, we have 2 learning support teachers. At Horace Mann, we only have the 1, which she's kind of, 80% of her or 70% of her time is devoted to special education, and about 30% is devoted to phys ed. So that's what's creating the need. I hope that made sense.
And what happens if Eisenhower ever gets completed and Horace Mann and Eisenhower are together? Are you still going to have that
I
much
think
of a need?
No, I think at that point, if both were combined into one building, I think we could probably do it with 3 at that point. But that's, that might be a few years away. But, that's something we could consider.
Okay, Terry, you have any questions?
No.
I do just want to point out the elementary position is not a new position.
I was going to ask that too. I've got a dash there. It's a
We
retirement.
have Eisenhower right now. They have a large 5th grade class that's going to 6th grade. They have a smaller incoming 4th grade class. So we are able to reduce at Eisenhower 1 elementary teacher and still stay well within our classroom guidelines. So that 1 open position, we would be moving down to East Pike. And again, it is like Mr. Vugrich said, if we need it. At this point, we still don't. We're kind of almost on the verge of needing it in 1 grade at East Pike. But we would like to include it in the budget and begin the process just in case we need it. But again, it is not an extra position.
Because I was going to ask if that elementary position could be combined with the special ed. So if the elementary one is a retirement and you may or may not need it, if you don't need it, that could be the special ed.
Yeah, we wouldn't be
Position.
adding in an extra special ed. We could just
But
hire.
we're talking about potentially adding 2. 1 for a retirement, 1 to replace retirement, and a new one.
Yeah, and everything we talked about today, we would be adding 3 brand new positions if we also have to fill that elementary. Otherwise, it would just be 2 brand new positions to the budget.
Okay.
So, Ms. Cindy, that's all we have. If there's any other questions, we can address them, but we wanted to give you an update where we're at. Again, nothing on the agenda tonight. This is something we can process and address either at the second meeting in February or the first meeting in March. But we would like, to give the board time to process and we can follow up with that other information that was requested, but we feel that this is where we're at.
Okay. Sounds good. Any questions? Anybody?
I'm good. What time's our next meeting tonight? 6:30?
6:30.
6 o'clock is it? Oh yeah, we're done early. Wow. 6:30 is the exec session. We got
Ms. Cinda's one step closer to committee with chair of the year. After all.
Okay, well, I think unless anybody says, no, you want to have a longer meeting, then we're going to go ahead and adjourn.
all right. See you guys at 6:30.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.